Welcome back to In Conversation. I hope you had a nice weekend and that you're doing well. The upcoming guests are Brad Richards and Adam Graves, each of whom won the Stanley Cup twice with two different organizations, which is impressive. Brad Richards I met in Charlottetown, PEI during the NHL lockout that wiped out the season 2004-05. I was in Charlottetown filming for CBC's replacement series, Movie Night in Canada. And funny enough, or sadly, they're back to running films right now instead of the hockey games on Saturday night. But I met Brad and he was intriguing. He was 22 years old. I was 45, but I was already learning so much from this kid. And I think with Brad, the secret is he moved away at 14 from the eastern tip of PEI, Murray Harbor, to attend Athol Murray School at Notre Dame, Wilcox, Saskatchewan. 4,000 kilometers he moved away as a 14-year-old, time and space. And Adam Graves, raised here in Toronto. His father, Henry, was a police officer downtown, and Henry and Linda, used to bring in children. When they saw trouble, they would bring the kids to live with them. So Adam was raised in a home full of foster children, bunk beds jammed with their experiences and stories. It was a great undergraduate education. And I'm involved in a Pee Wee program called the Good Deeds Cup, and we say the trophy goes to the team having the best season off the ice. It's for charity. It's for good intentions, good deeds. I don't think anyone would argue in all of the NHL, past or present, that the man who's had the best career off the ice is Adam Graves.
One of the greatest Rangers of all time, the incomparable Adam Graves.
Plays it for Graves off the boards. Tied up by Stevens. Graves, power move, scores! Adam Graves, Rangers win! Adam Graves.
Saint-Louis comes in, rifles a pass, score! It was you-know-who scored the goal, and you-know-what when he scores in these playoffs. 40 seconds left on it, and they get the puck, but they don't get it out. Richards again, scoring for Tampa Bay. Brad Richards, dogged determination to get the puck.
The most valuable player is Brad Richards.
Brad Richards, 7 game-winning goals en route to that Conn Smythe Trophy and the Stanley Cup in 04. Brad, you hear me okay?
I do.
And Adam, have you got me?
Yes, clear.
Let me start with you in Oakville. I hear your wife, Violet, is running a tight ship. The kids aren't allowed to sleep till noon. No one's allowed to be listless in their non-existence. Tell me about the scene in your home.
Well, certainly like everyone across the world, it's a time that we've never known before. And being home with the family really, I guess, puts things into perspective, and certainly very privileged to have our 3 kids home. They're all busy with university studies. And Violet, I say I have 3 kids, and she has 4, me being the oldest. So she's keeping us all in line, and certainly just trying to do our part.
I hear she's winning all the board games too. So Brad, you've got a young family. For you and Rochelle in Greenwich, Connecticut, just above New York City. I'm sure it's an anxious time. Tell me what home life is like for you.
Yeah, we obviously, being so close to New York, we're pretty prudent in what we're doing. We haven't, we go for some walks with the kids, but when it's nice like it is today, the backyard is a savior for us. 3 kids, 5 and under, so they're a little confused and they want to do a lot more, but we're getting a lot of mommy and daddy time right now.
I'm going to hold up a sweater from the Humboldt Broncos. Brad, you played in the Saskatchewan Junior Hockey League, obviously at Notre Dame. And Adam, you have a dear connection. It's 2 years since the crash. I'll start with you, Adam. The Humboldt Broncos. When I say that, what comes to mind?
Well, as a country, and I can remember that day that we all heard. And I have a close friend, Chris Joseph, who I played with in Edmonton. And we all know that, unfortunately, that story too well. And the strength of those kids and seeing those families and the way that the country came together. But it's never going to be a story that is easy to talk about. And to this day, it's hard to believe it's 2 years removed. And but the hearts of all of Canada and the entire world, hockey world, came out. And I know that they continue to have strong ties back to the Humboldt Broncos, and those kids that have continued on are just such great kids, great families, and we all still feel for them on a daily basis.
And Brad, I'll get your thought on that too.
Yeah, I mean, tough to even talk about and think about, to be honest. And I played against Humboldt in the Saskatchewan Junior League and was on that road many times throughout the 3 years out there. So when I heard about it, it obviously brought back a lot of memories of what if my bus would have got hit. And you can almost imagine what they were doing and what they were talking about, getting ready for their playoff game. So as a hockey player, as a human being, it's awful. As a hockey player, I think we all rode the buses and did all that no matter where. And I think we all thought of ourselves in that position as it happened, and that made it even more surreal.
I promise the two of you, it's nothing like talking hockey with the two of you, and we'll come to that. But one last serious note, because first responders, especially frontline medical professionals, are so much a part of the story we're living right now. Adam, 2 years ago, after Ovechkin and the Caps won the Cup, you and Violet are in the backyard barbecuing, and we get on to your jersey retirement, and you told me a story about a young man, Nick Springer, that kind of made that story about you having your number go up into the rafters at MSG pale.
Well, that's the fortunate part sometimes of playing the game that we love is the people you get to meet along the way. And I've often said this, as you know, my dad was a policeman in Toronto for close to 30 years, and that was my hero. But I do have a couple more heroes, and one of them is Nick Springer. And he's a young man that I met. He was just an early teen. He had contracted meningococcal meningitis. And I'll never forget the day that Violet and I went to the hospital to meet him. And it was the start of an incredible friendship and incredible respect. And then I followed him through his journey, and he is the reason why all of our kids and all the kids now get the meningococcal meningitis shot, because him and his mom, Nancy, and Gary, his dad, went to Congress and had that passed that before kids go to university or college, they have that shot, and it saves thousands and thousands of kids' lives. And then Nick went into the Paralympics and won a gold medal in rugby, and I'm fortunate to have his jersey hang in my office up here in Canada. So you talk about heroes. He is at the front of that line.
You mentioned litigation. Chris Joseph, back to Chris and Andrea for a moment, who lost Jackson on the Humboldt crash. They've done a lot for seatbelt legislation, for certification. Really inspiring work, the Josephs out in Edmonton area. Brad, you gave $500,000 in one fell swoop to Queen Elizabeth Hospital in Charlottetown, to the pediatric unit. You've done so much on the island and so much in your NHL cities with Richie's Rascals. So how did that happen for you, your connection to the medical community?
Well, I think, unfortunately, a lot of people go through it, but I had a close family member, first cousin, and one of my best friends at that age passed away of a brain tumor when he was 5 years old, and I was only 6, 7 years old when he went through all that. Always saw stories, Hockey Night in Canada or watching hockey, always saw stories of athletes, players, hockey players doing stuff with kids and hospitals, no matter what it is. And it was always just something when I made it and got into it, I wanted to do something in his honor, and very happy we can get more support for the QEH back in Charlottetown and try to give those kids that are getting treatment and having to go in a little more of the comfort and a little more space when they have to be in the hospital. And so far it's worked out well, and hopefully we'll keep growing and building it.
Never forget you and Delight, your mom, driving by where Jamie used to live as a boy, one of your friends. Hey, last thing on this Smile Zone, Adam, tell the follower what Smile Zone is.
Well, Smile Zone is essentially, we've done 279 zones across Canada, and we started in Ontario, and that's the bulk of our work has been in Ontario. And essentially all it is putting an area in the hospital for kids to go to have fun, to take their mind off of what is ailing them, whether it's themselves, their siblings, their families, because we all know there's nothing more important than our health, and never more true than right now. And when we're dealing with situations like that, we think about it 24 hours a day. So if you can create an area where there's a reprieve for these kids and families that maybe take their mind off of, what is just an unbelievable time in their lives, that's what Smile Zone does. We try to put a smile on the kid's face. And again, it is directed by all those first responders, all those nurses and doctors, and all those people that just know what it means to have healthy kids and healthy families. And we're so lucky to have them.
Okay, some hockey talk. Adam, right back to you. What is the eyebrow?
The eyebrow. Well, Richie's not as old as me. He retired a few years after me. In fact, I sat up in the eyebrow and watched Richie with his magic, and then played against him. But the eyebrow was essentially.
I don't really want to know what they were saying about me up there now that I know what's set up there.
I said only good things with my coffee in hand, Richie. But the eyebrow it sits at the top of Madison Square Garden, and Richie actually and Brian Leach, we all stand together at home games, and you take a ladder up to the top, and Glenn Sather's up there, John Davidson's up there, Jeff Gorton, Chris Drury. And we call it the eyebrow because it sits essentially at the top of the garden. You watch the game. And the great part about the eyebrow, though, and Richie would agree, is there's a great popcorn maker up there, a nice coffee machine. But it's just a great vantage point. The game looks so easy. It almost looks the way Richie played with his smarts, that he saw the game. He saw the game like I do when I'm sitting up there. I didn't exactly see it that way on the ice.
Well, Adam, when he saw Cale Makar, he came back to my house in Oakville and said he'd be my number one. He really loved him way before, when he was only ranked 10th overall, I believe. And Brad, I know you looked at Brady Tkachuk down in Boston, and he's proved to be a great NHL player. And I'm not going to get you to talk about guys on other teams, but what strikes me, Brad, is your 200-foot game, let's call it. Patrice Bergeron, Jonathan Toews, Anze Kopitar, Ryan O'Reilly in St. Louis. It seems like you need that player to win right now. I don't know if you agree with that, but how do you spot that quality?
Yeah, I mean, I'm just getting into a little bit of help here and seeing these young kids. It's tough to, I always start if they're the most talented player on the ice, and they're dominating, have the puck a lot. I think you can, if you know their character and you get them with right leaders, you can convince them to play a 200-foot game, because they'll learn that in the end, winning a Stanley Cup or winning a championship is probably the most important thing they'll ever do outside of family. So if you get the character and you get people that will listen, I think that's kind of I'd rather draft a player or see a player that's dominant and has the puck all the time, and then try to work on that. And I think Mika Zibanejad with the Rangers this year showed he's really bought into Coach Quinn's message on that, and going up against top players and still putting up a crazy amount of points here the last month of the season that was being played. But he had the talent, and now he had the buy-in, and it's tough to project these kids that I've been watching a little bit of the top prospects, and the only thing I can say is if I see him have the puck all night, then I like him.
Adam, I'll let you pick up on that, but I will throw out a few names. Obviously, Quentin Byfield and Alexis Lafreniere, who had the Great World Juniors, and then down the pike, you've got Shane Wright, Cole Perfetti coming. What do you look for?
Well, again, I think it starts with character and hockey smarts, and then certainly with all the skill development that's out there now. And as Richie said, and this is with the greatest amount of respect for all of our scouts in New York. I know how hard they work, and a lot of people would think just because you played that you have an upper hand. Well, a lot of these people, you don't have to play in the National Hockey League to be a smart hockey man or hockey person for that matter, and be able to recognize talent in that. But I think it starts again with puck possession, puck management, hockey sense, character, and all those other things that follow. And when you look at these young kids, they're so well developed as far as their skill set. Going into their draft year at 18 years old, and the game's getting faster and faster, as we know, and more exciting. And those names that you talked about, the Byfields and some of these kids are just ultra talented, and they have been that way for so many years because of this skill development.
All right, Brad, pick a number between 1 and 4. I'll ask you a question from Instagram or Twitter. 1 through 4.
4.
Fourth question comes to us from Addy Cruz 87. Another 87. A lot of Crosby fans, and that's funny because you taught Crosby at the Allen Andrews. On Instagram, he asks, if you could have been a part of any other sports league, I think I know the answer to this, which one would it be? Any other sports league?
Well, I don't know if it's a league, but any other sport, I'd love to be on the PGA Tour and getting to play in a British Open or Masters or something like that. That would be my dream, to be a top golfer for sure.
Yeah, you said top golfer. That's very important for the viewer to know. I said to Brad, you'd love to play PGA. He said, yeah, but Ron, only if I'm top 3. I couldn't be one of those riffraff.
I don't know. I think your guaranteed contract in the NHL is a little safer than fighting for your card every year and making a bogey and missing the cut and not being able to play on the tour the following year. That wouldn't be as easy as we had it at times, for sure.
Adam, 1 through 3. Which question would you like?
3.
Number 3 comes from Rags_86 on Instagram. If you could pick one celebrity, this is really your thing. If you could pick one celebrity to go to a hockey game with, who would it be and why?
Oh, that's a good question. I wasn't expecting this one. I don't know. Bruce Springsteen. How's that? Because I've listened to his music for forever. That was always that when I was working out in summers back in the day, it was to Bruce Springsteen. So that's what it would be.
Brad took me to U2 and Arcade Fire, and he loves Luminaires. Anyone else now, Brad, that you've been grooving to? Pearl Jam, I know you love.
Yeah, nothing new. I mean, Pearl Jam, unfortunately, they were playing at the Garden just like 4 or 5 days ago, which I had tickets for, but obviously that didn't happen. But yeah, the usual old characters. That's nothing new.
All right, let's end with these two questions. Prince Edward Island, I remember Alan Andrews School and him talking about seeing you at the Blue Line in Northumberland Arena as a 12-year-old, looking one way, making a pass the other. And House Cat, your dear friend Trevor Burton, I agree, your pass to Kane to clinch the cup in 15 is the greatest. All those ones we saw in Tampa, that's my favorite. But Alan Andrews and your father as your real coach, how's he doing? Because the lobster fishery goes on the same time as the Stanley Cup. So to Glenn and Delight, your first coach, and Alan Andrews, a thought.
Yeah, I mean, Alan Andrews still has a hockey school there. There's so many kids get to go over in the summer, and so many have gone on to prep schools, colleges, junior hockey, whatever it is. It's not always just about the NHL. So it's a great thing for the kids to have those camps in the summer, and you know, we went every year and worked with it a little bit too, and it's a great program to keep kids active and busy and you know, hockey on their mind a little bit for 1 week of summer. And yeah, Dad's like everybody else, uncertainty. They're not hearing great things about lobster season starting down in PEI. Everybody's waiting and trying to figure all this out, like we all are, day by day. And it's probably pretty stressful for a lot of people, especially younger families in those type of jobs, and some of the uncertainties you know, facing them. So we're definitely thinking about them. We hope this passes quick.
Thanks, Brad. Adam, last word to you on your youth growing up. I know you taught Gregory Campbell to one time a puck down in Windsor, so Coley will be watching this. Who did it for you? Who kind of influenced you to make it in the NHL?
Well, I always thought, and it was a dream, but it wasn't a dream because it always seemed so far away. And so as a kid, some of my fondest, in fact, I was asked that you know, as a hockey question probably about 3-4 months ago. What is your fondest memory of hockey? And to this day, I say it was shooting pucks in the driveway with my dad. And I can remember going to the lumber store, grabbing some 2x4s and old plastic shower curtains. That's before you could go to Canadian Tire and buy a net and put it in the driveway. So you had to build it yourself. So I'll never forget that. My dad would have a baseball glove on, and I'd take wrist shots. And then every spring we'd take that blacktop and tar the driveway just to make sure that it was smoother. I'd move farther and farther back in the driveway until eventually we both stood there and shot because he didn't want to go in net anymore. But to this day, it's still my fondest memories, and certainly, as you know, as I mentioned earlier, with my dad being a policeman, that's why right now resonates so much with those first responders and the people that are the true heroes. And we're so fortunate to have those people taking care of us at this time, and just wish everyone's family all the best during this time, and stay strong and stay safe and healthy.
What a visit, my love. My thanks to you both.
Thank you, Ron.
Thanks, Ron.
A reminder, if you have questions for future guests, the hashtag is InConversation. We are back Wednesday, 7 o'clock Eastern, 4 Pacific. Very special guests, Jim Cuddy of Blue Rodeo and MP Adam Van Couverden, who also happens to be an Olympic champion. And as always, and Jim will enjoy this, we're ending each and every show with a musical quote. This is from a brand new song out from Billy Talent. And the quote is, "When you feel so lost that you don't belong, well, I beg to differ. You don't surrender. This will get better." I Beg to Differ is the name of the song. Played a lot of hockey with Jonathan Gallant from Billy Talent. Thanks for that. Clouds lift when we listen to music and when we talk, as we shall again, in conversation.